with runners in scoring position, they're slashing 222, 279, 319. That's worst, and second worst in all of baseball. It's a 598 OPS, which is the worst in baseball, and a 58 weighted runs created plus, worst in baseball. One Royal Way back at it here on Kansas City Sports Network. I'm Joel Penfield. Thank y'all so much for tuning in. Make sure you like, rate, subscribe, review on all platforms. Be sure to hit those notification bells on the audio side and video side so you know when these episodes go live and you know when these episodes go up. It's a little different today. I'm recording on Friday morning. So you guys obviously are seeing this a little later in the day. A little bit of a different format just because I wasn't able to record Thursday night like I wanted to. The trenches of moving, it was a little more exhausting than I anticipated. Everything's in the house, which is great. Unfortunately, my desk, the second that the movers picked it up at my old house, it fell apart. Basically, it was on its last leg for a couple of years, so I kind of expected that. And then my chair that I use got busted in transit. So I got to get some new office equipment, and then I'll be hopefully set up by Sunday to record. So right now, if you're watching this on YouTube, wondering where the heck I am, this is my dad's office that he uses at my parents' house. So this is a little bit of a different setting, but still able to record, still able to get something out here and talk about this series that I really didn't miss much of. Admittedly, I didn't watch anything from the series, kept up with the, MLB game day, some of you, what everybody had to say on social, but that was about the extent of it. From the last couple of days, it's just been nonstop, and I haven't had time to really sit down and check too much out of, check out too much of it until last night. Went back, watched some highlights, watched some stuff, and highlights is generous. Now, before we get into all that, the show, as always, brought to you by Emprise Bank. Remember, FDIC, our partners in Possible here at Kansas City Sports Network and on this podcast. We can't thank them enough for that support. So the Royals got swept by the Tampa Bay Rays Tuesday through Thursday. They lose. It was 5-1, 4-0, 5-0, and 4-0. And the only run they scored was late in that game. I think it was the ninth inning on a Vinny RBI with Michael scoring. And that was it. Those were the only runs. That was the only run they scored. So it's not even like they scored when it mattered. The game was over. Just another example of the offense just never getting right. And not going to get right. As presently constituted, I am done trying to optimistically think, oh, they'll figure it out. They'll turn it around. I mean, the sample is too big at this point that this offense is just going to break out the rest of the year and find a way. And I kept waiting. I think everybody kind of kept waiting. Like, oh, we saw what they did last year, and this is basically the same team with a couple of new parts. Like, and a couple of guys that were ineffective that aren't here anymore. But it just hasn't come. And at this point, how can you expect it to? They're 5 games under. They've lost 9 consecutive home games where they dominated last year at home. Even, good teams, they played well at Kauffman Stadium, and they can't even do that right now. They haven't won a home game in June. It's June 27th. And now you got the Dodgers coming in. Like, are you going to win one of those games? I don't know. The tune changed quite a bit. I mean, Tuesday was like, that was rough. Okay, all right, get back on the horse tomorrow. And it's not like they were playing, a world beater pitcher, Taj Bradley, at like a 5 ERA and had only thrown like 9 innings in his previous 3 starts, as Jordan and Josh talked about on Tuesday night. Okay, show up Wednesday and then you just no show. And then on Thursday afternoon, show offensively. When I'm watching Bobby Witt Jr., who is an MVP level player, and he is, and even like talent wise, he still is underperform to what he should be. It's bad. Even if Vinny has been very, very solid, or a 110, 115 WRC plus guy, or even better than that over the last 2 months, It's not enough. Michael Garcia has been one of the best stories in baseball. It's not enough. Jonathan India is underperformed. I mean, you see just there's so many factors at play for what's happening, and this team should be so much better than they are. There is something missing on the hitting side right now. And I don't know if it's coaching. I don't know if it's advanced scouting. I don't know if it's just execution at the plate. Because that's the tricky part of trying to explain or understand what's going on that side. Because they could have the best coaches in the world and they could have the best plan on the planet for a pitcher. But there's still an independent factor of the coach can't swing the bat or not swing for the hitter. And the hitter has to go out and execute that plan. But clearly there's just something off with what they're doing. And Vinny, is one of the most candid dudes in the sport. And I give him a lot of credit for that because it would be very easy for him to give a sort of canned cliche PR type answer and just move on. But that's just not who Vinny is. And I have a lot of respect for that. And he talked about, like, we go in and we feel confident in the game plan that's in front of us. And we know that we have to go out and execute it. It's not just you can have the best game plan in the world. You still got to go out and execute it. And they're not doing that right now. They're not doing good enough. And he even admitted it's bad. What's going on. And he had a great quote. And I think this is the side of baseball that is kind of lost on fans sometimes. And I'm not trying to be critical of people listening. You guys are fans of the sport. And I know a lot of you guys know baseball really well. But it is a process-oriented sport and a results-oriented business, right? And those two things are incongruous when you think about how the process can be sound and the results aren't there. But I don't even think you can lean on that and be like, man, they're just hitting a lot of line drives right field and they're just getting unlucky and that luck kind of swings back and forth. It's not even that. Like, they're not hitting the ball hard, and if they're hitting the ball hard, it is right at someone, which is just one of those when you're down, you're down. When this team last year, and I go back to last year a lot because it's not like the team is that different, right? From a player perspective, like your top 3 or 4 hitters are there. You add in Jonathan India, you still got Freddie Fermin around. Drew Waters was in the organization. Even if Michael Garcia was a vastly different player, like he was still there every day. And they were one of the best hitting teams with runners in scoring position. And now that is, and what we're seeing this year, obviously, is that is a variable thing. It does not sustain year over year because they were one of the best in baseball last year, if not the best. And this year they are the worst. And Josh Kaiser, good buddy, had this tweet yesterday, and this was before the game, before they couldn't do anything offensively. Pretty emblematic in the first inning. Jonathan India gets on with a leadoff double. And then Bobby gets out, Vinny strikes out, Michael lines out, that's it. And it was just leadoff double with nothing. And I know that people watching were like, oh, great, they're going to blow it again. Like, you just unfortunately had that feeling. And you tell people checked out after that. Or were angrily tweeting, one of the two. But overall, as a team, they're hitting 244. They're slashing 244, 298, 366. It's a 664 OPS as a team and an 81 weighted runs created plus. I don't have those rankings, but that's all bad. With runners in scoring position, they're slashing 222, 279, 319. That's worst, and second worst in all of baseball. It's a 598 OPS, which is the worst in baseball, and a 58 weighted runs created plus, worst in baseball. I can win games that way. You can pitch your ass off like this team does all the time. It's not going to be good enough. There's only so many more ways to say it. I mean, I wanted to believe because we've seen pockets where it's like, okay, this is where they can get it turned around. They go on a 4-2 road trip after an abysmal homestand. They get off the mat. And they just lay an egg when they get back home against a good team. And they haven't really done a good job beating good teams this year at all. Let me get that record. I had something else pulled up, but now this came to mind. it was something I talked about on Sunday before the Rays series. Like the Royals are 18-31 against teams above 500. You're just not going to win that way. You don't even have to be awesome. Like the Tigers are 51-31, the best team in baseball. They're only 2 games over 500 against winning teams. Like you don't, it's beating up on the teams that you should beat and being competitive, at least being competitive with the teams that are good and at your level or above. And they haven't even done that. And when the Yankees came to town, it was there was one game for maybe a couple innings where it was competitive, and that was it. I mean, this series wasn't competitive at all from an offensive perspective. Like Bubic pitched pretty well. Walker threw the ball all right. Lorenzen did what you kind of felt like Lorenzen can do, which is, hey, I'm probably going to give up 3 or 4, but I'm going to at least get through the 5th, 6th. And he did that, but the offense can't do it. And it's going to be the reason why you're probably going to be looking at a seller now, when it felt like, hey, maybe they'll be able to pitch well enough and the offense can do just enough to, keep them in it, right? To keep them in a spot where they can buy and get a spark and move forward as a contender. I don't know how you can do that now. And you got the Dodgers coming in right now after this. So you're going to be right now, you're 5 games under. Are you going to win a game against the Dodgers? And maybe the game on Saturday with Ohtani pitching, he's only going to go an inning or 2. And maybe you can get to the Bolt guy that comes after. I don't know. I'm kind of grasping at straws, trying to figure out, what's going to be best for this team and how they're going to handle it. I guess we can talk a little bit about seller potential, what that could look like over the next month. Map out because I want, part of me was like, okay, weigh the buyer seller thing. Look at the schedule and see, if it's favorable, can you handle it? Yeah, or is this team going to be able to figure it out? But I mean, they got swept and dog walked by the A's. Like, there's no team in baseball right now other than maybe the Rockies where I'm like, yeah, the Royals can go in and sweep that series. But we'll see. We're going to take a quick break and we'll be right back.
Looking for tickets for your next event? Tickets for Less is your #1 source. Save big on every purchase when you use promo code KCSN at ticketsforless.com.
Success in real estate takes more than vision. It takes the right financial partner. When someone takes something rundown and turns it into something great, that's called a comeback story, like Brain Group. They take distressed properties here in KC, completely rework them, and then turn them into valuable real estate. But that kind of work needs the right bank behind it. Enter Emprise Bank. They're not about cookie-cutter loans. They saw Brain Group's vision, backed them, and now they're making big moves in Kansas City real estate. Talk about your partner in possible. Emprise doesn't do one-size-fits-all financing. They invest in potential and back growth. Visit emprisebank.com/KC to learn more. Emprise Bank, member FDIC, equal housing lender.
Folks, there's nothing that beats relaxing on a hot summer day and watching some baseball. And there's no simpler way to get in on the action than by downloading the Pick 6 app from DraftKings. It's crazy simple. Just pick more or less on the stats for 2 or more of your favorite players, and boom, you're in the mix for big cash prizes. And the best part, Pick 6 is available right here in Missouri. Don't miss out on the fun. Don't settle for a smaller payout. Switch to Pick 6, and right now, new customers can get $25 in bonus picks with their first deposit of $5. Here's what you got to do. Download the DraftKings Pick 6 app now and use code KCSN. That's code KCSN for new customers to get $25 in bonus picks with their first deposit of $5. Better payouts, bigger wins, only with Pick 6 from DraftKings. The crown is yours. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Must be 18 plus. Age and eligibility restrictions vary by jurisdiction. Void where prohibited. New customers only. Minimum $5 deposit. Bonus picks expire 168 hours after issuance. For additional terms and responsible gaming resources, see pick6.draftkings.com/promos.
Be sure to hit that like and subscribe button. I appreciate everybody hanging out here and listening in. I know things are not great right now, but I appreciate the support that you guys have given me throughout this season, wins and losses. And I'm hoping, things turn around so that we're not just having the same conversation, for the next month plus about where this team is going to be. The seller aspect of this from the Royals' perspective is, I think it's interesting because at this point, it's probably the direction they're going to head, barring, a massive 2014 type turnaround. Because that was the type of turnaround that they had, right? They kind of were middling like this, a few games under, not playing up to expectation, and they just went on this crazy run. But I don't think they have, people talk about the Raul Ibanez, talk in the, players only, when he came over around this time during that year, mid-July, like, you guys are better than this. Like, I know how good you are. I don't know if they have a veteran that's going to come in and do that, or a veteran on the team right now that's going to have a red ass conversation about it. Like, I don't know. They had a players only, but I mean, it seems that they did a little bit of good on the road trip. It seems like they came back home and it's just where it's at. And I know that based on what I know about this team and trying to capitalize on a window, that they want to buy. I understand that aspect of it. But I don't think you can, because I don't think there's a quick fix here. Like, I don't think getting one or two guys is going to make the difference offensively for this team. Something philosophically is just wrong or off right now with where this team is at. So maybe you do think about not a soft sell, but a reset sell, if that makes sense. So what I mean by that is kind of like what they did, what it ultimately ended up being in 23 by going and getting a Cole Reagans. And, you sell Aroldis Chapman, who was a hot commodity at that point, a guy that, relievers are a huge part of the market. The difference is the Royals have starters. And I know Lugo will likely be a rental. I think he's a player option, but he's obviously going to opt out of that because he can get way more than 15 million AAV, coming up here this offseason. That's the name that's getting talked about a lot. There are going to be teams that want starting pitching, and he's been very, very good for the Royals for the last 2 years. He was a solid starter now for basically 2.5 years. Teams will pay a premium for that, even if it's a rental. And it looks like it's probably going to be closer to a buyer's market. At least that's how I view it right now, because there's so many teams are kind of in the middle, like Kansas City. Even teams are a little bit better, that are just kind of sitting there in that, like, they're kind of in contention, but they're kind of not. I don't know. We don't know where they're at. That teams, the Royals and other buyers may be able to take advantage of teams being like, there's not many other sellers out there. What can we give you? And it gives you the chance to try and get some cost control bats, maybe a cost control pitcher if you really feel like you need it. But the way the Royals been pitching lately, and the way that they've been able to kind of establish, not necessarily a pitching factory, I wouldn't call it that yet, but a developmental plan for a lot of these guys to where you feel confident they're going to be able to churn out pitchers, go get some hitters and figure that out. And see where you go there. The one name that I didn't think about a lot, but it would make sense, and I know it might hurt considering, what's coming up for him. But the thing to consider as well is that I only got one more year of control after this, and that's Chris Bubich. And John Morosi of MLB.com or MLB.com, MLB Network, he was on yesterday on, I think it was MLB Central. And the question was, is there a scenario in which the Royals would entertain offers for Chris Bubich? Which tells you, I think, that there's indications that the Royals are going to sell. It would be a year and a half of control. So again, you would get a little bit of a premium on it. Like, you would get something really good back for Chris Bubich. And the quote from John Morosi, I don't need to talk about the whole thing, but he just said, if the Royals could get 2 impactful young bats, I think this is something they'd at least have to consider. And John Morosi is as connected as anyone to a lot of these teams and a lot of these organizations, people in the know in baseball. So I'll take his word for it. This isn't like that Mets guy a couple weeks ago that was trying to say like, oh, I heard that Royals ownership is going to, try and sell Lugo. Like, okay, I don't trust that source. At least I'll trust a national guy that kind of knows what he's talking about. So I guess we'll see, but that would be, if you're not going to give Chris Bubich an extension, or you want to wait a little bit, longer into this year and just play on the 1 year, but then you're risking contract year, you may have to overpay to keep him. If you don't want to do that, then maybe trading him is the best thing, because then he's going to be able to get you back, some decent prospects, if not really, really good prospects. So that would be a name to watch. Carlos Estevez is a name I've seen thrown around as well. At least people like that talk about the team that like this team, like, hey, 1.5 years of control for a reliever, and a guy that's proven he can close out games like that. There is always value in trading your relievers. I don't think Lucas Erceg is going to be part of that conversation. That's 4+ years of control. I still think, you got to have some good players, right? And I don't think the Royals view this as a fire sale. We have to start over, but I think this is we have some guys that are, cost control or rental that we can afford to get, to part with, because we know who we can backfill and how we can attack free agency to get some of these guys back, back in. I think the Royals have an effective way of doing that, going and getting some, savvy veteran pitchers, and helping add to their arsenal and helping them improve in various areas. And we've seen what that's done with Seth Lugo and Michael Lorenzen and Michael Wacha, that have been solid big leaguers or better, solid to high level starters since coming to Kansas City and working with Brian Sweeney and Zach Bove. So it's a matter of finding hitters and finding some young impact bats that can help aid this lineup, that with Bobby Witt Jr. and this pitching staff, they're going to have a shot pretty much every year. For the next, rest of Bobby Witt Jr.'s prime, as he's not even entering that yet. But that's kind of the direction that we're heading there. Vinny is still proving that he can be a solid middle of the order bat. Michael, what he's doing this year, gives you a lot of hope for the future. Jack's still trying to break in and get things figured out. And again, there may be just a shift in philosophy this offseason might help him as well. And no, I don't think the Royals should send Jack Caglione back down to the minors just because, we're out of contention now, let's just send him back to AAA. No. And the only reason I say that is, sure, he may quote unquote need it, but I don't think it's beneficial for him long term. I think the most beneficial thing is for him to just take his lumps and figure it out at the big league level, because the gap between AAA and the bigs is so massive that he's going to go down and kill it in AAA. And yeah, it may help his confidence, but it's not going to help him develop. And because he's going to those same habits and those things that they're trying to get him to kick at the big league level when it comes to chasing and approach and things like that. He's just going to revert back to what he was doing before with better results, but that's not going to help him long term. The best thing for him is to figure out, I can't swing at these pitches. I have to be more selective. I have to figure some of this stuff out. That's the kind of thing that he has to figure out now. And the Royals knew that was going to be a possibility when they called him up, that this might happen. But for him to succeed, I think is going to be figuring it out now, rather than, I'm just going to go back and I'm going to hit 25 homers in AAA for the rest of the year. And sure, it may give him some confidence, but you're going to see that gap again next year between AAA and the major leagues, where I don't think it's going to help him. But that's just my opinion. That's one man's opinion. And we'll see where it goes. I'm sure there's another name I like. Michael Lorenzen may be another name to try and move. I think he's still got some value because of his ability to start and relieve. That'll be a smaller move, but I could see that happening. Problem is, I don't know if the Royals would have enough pitchers to not feel the team, but they would really be picking from AAA it could just be a see what you got. If you're selling, you're basically punting. So maybe that's where a Luinder Avila gets a shot at the end of the year when he comes back. Maybe you give a Chandler Champlain a shot. Just, hey, let's see if you get at the big league level, even if you haven't done anything in AAA for 2 years. A couple relievers, shuffle some guys around, give them a shot. But we'll see. I mean, there's still time. We got about a month until the trade deadline, but like I talked about, I don't see a scenario where I really feel confident this team is going to be able to stack a bunch of wins together. Let me get to the schedule here over the next month. Just kind of keep it in mind. So you got the Dodgers this weekend. And let me get while I'm thinking about it as well, the probables for this coming week. I'm incredibly jealous of people going on Saturday. If you haven't seen it. So it's going to be Dustin May and Noah Cameron tonight, two very different pitchers. So that's going to be, if you like kind of just the dichotomy of pitching, and how you can get it done in different ways, this is the one to watch. Dustin May just throwing exploding 99-mile-an-hour sinkers with a frisbee sweeper. It's just disgusting. Been a huge fan of his since I saw him in AA in Tulsa. Saturday is going to be fun. Seth Lugo and Shohei Ohtani is pitching on Saturday. My sister is going, or a couple of her friends are going to that game, and I was like, God, I'm jealous. He's only going to throw a couple innings, but still to see that guy on the mound and then just hop right up to the mound, lead off. He's going to lead off the game and then just hop right on the mound and go and throw hundos. Like it's crazy. The talent is just nuts. And then Sunday, it's to be determined for the Dodgers, but Chris Bubic is going to pitch for the Royals. I want to see them try and get one and just get a little bit of confidence. I think, man, you beat the Dodgers. Maybe just just the thought of beating that team gives them some confidence. But I'm not gonna go that far. I mean, the rest of this. Let's talk about the month of July here. Just looking ahead, because we had a little bit of the trade deadline conversation. So you got 3 with the Dodgers coming up here, and then as we get into July, it's a 4-gamer in Seattle, and that team can pitch. So that's going to be, and their offense has kind of come on as of late. So that's a 4-game set there. You got 3 against the Diamondbacks, who are kind of in limbo as well. So that could be a big series from the perspective of buyer seller. But even if they're American League, National League, like that's going to be interesting. And then you got the Pirates for 3 and the Mets for 3 before the All-Star break. So 6-game set there. Pirates are bad, but we'll see where the Royals are at. Hopefully they can take advantage there. Then you got a 6-game road trip with the Marlins and the Cubs. So you go East Coast and then back, kind of the Midwest before coming back home. And then a 3-game set with the, another 6-game homestand. So it's away home for the month of July. 3 with the Guardians and 3 with the Braves. And then it's deadline time. And then it's figuring out where we're at. I'm not going to try and predict win-loss record in baseball. It's too fluky to try and do that. But you're 5 games under now, so you would assume the Royals have to play +2 to that to at least put themselves in contention. So that's making up 7 games on their record right now in a month. I don't know if this team has it in them. I want to believe that they do, but with what we've seen, and it just looks like the offense just is not going to ever turn it on. They just kind of are what they are now. And that looks like a team that's going to be selling off some pieces. It's not the end of the world. It's not a sell like we've seen in the past, I don't think, where it's over and now we got to reset for 2 to 3 years. I don't think it's necessarily that. You maybe give yourself an opportunity in 2026 with some new pieces and, some overhauls that probably need to happen. And go from there. We'll still see what they have. We'll see what they have in them. I don't know if they had another players only. I don't know how yesterday went, post game, but show up to the ballpark today and see if you can get a win. No, that sounds super pessimistic. I get it, but we'll see what they got in them. And we'll talk on Sunday after the series. And if it's worth recapping game by game, I will certainly do that. If it is just chat and see, what the future holds for this team. We'll do that as well. I'm planning for Sunday night at 8:30. I will keep you guys posted. I'm hoping that I have my desk and my chair coming up here pretty soon so that I can get everything, in my office set up and go from there. But appreciate everybody hanging out. Thank you guys so much for listening, watching. Make sure you're subscribed. Make sure you hit like on the video if you're watching this on YouTube. It helps more people see our channel. Hit those notification bells on all platforms so you know when these episodes go live. Not doing a toast game today because it is 8:32 in the morning on Friday, and as much as I would love to have a drink because the last 3 days have been stressful as hell, I should not do that. But I will certainly toast game, brought to you by Holiday Distillery, on Sunday night with you guys in some capacity. We'll talk soon. Take care, everybody.